work is inherently activism, just because it's coming from a person of color in the US. So I think it's inherently it's activism. I think when I started as a young artist, I really didn't consider my work to be activist or politically driven. But I think as viewers would come back to me to analyze my work or just critique my work, I think it was a common thread of those conversations.
I've had the opportunity through the magazine to talk about a lot of different activism and social justice issues. We've talked about diversity in the arts community here in Kansas City. I did a recent article on what it's like to be an artist mother and those challenges. So we kind of touch on a lot of different things, and I get to show off how diverse and amazing the community is and kind of have that control. So.
My platform and focus is mental health because that's how I navigate. So I'm learning something new all the time to help me gain better coping mechanisms and adding to my toolbox. I think for me, it is necessary on a daily basis to check in with my spirit and find out where I'm out of balance, where I'm in alignment, and get re-engaged with myself. And those are the drivers that keep me going, is just my faith and my spiritual walk.
So I worry less about, for myself at least, where how the work is identified generally. And I think for me, I just feel, for me, it's a healing process of producing the work, because there are questions and elements that I'm still searching for answers. And through producing the work is how I'm able to kind of sit with my own demons, if that makes any sense.
I studied sociology in college. I love learning about people and why they do what they do. And so I just am naturally drawn to getting artists' stories and seeing where they come from. And so it's just something that I thought about a lot. Like, that would be a cool zine. Like, that would be a cool setup for a zine. And I sat on it for like a year and a half. And then one day I was just like, I don't know, I'm gonna do it.
Producing the work gives me the vehicle to have these intimate conversations and not only refer to that specific subject matter in an intimate way, but have almost these visual cues that help you have those conversations, right? So it's not, for the most part, like these conversations are being had in front of my work. So there's kind of these visual aids of what I'm trying to say. And I think, at least for myself, a lot of times I don't have the vocabulary to express those emotions in a very concise way, right? So I think this is one of the reasons I'm a visual artist. This is why I produce visual cues and visual imagery, because my language is the visual.
My faith and my spiritual walk propels me forward. It keeps me going, it keeps me engaged. I am able to really focus in on things that I normally wouldn't do. And it challenges me, it opens new doors for me. Fortunately for me, that merger of art was a release. So I was able to release and relax. And then when I started relaxing, I found out that I truly have a gift with jewelry and sculptural art now that I didn't realize was there, but I think it's a matter of taking time and knowing who you are in your practices and just exploring. I explore all the time.
To be able to provide the work and be able to have these conversations with the audience and with the viewers, my work almost gives me the ability to have these conversations with visual cues as we talk about that subject. For me, if it's my immigrant experience and I'm talking about, the traumas of coming from Mexico to the US and what that trauma is like crossing the border, what the trauma is like living in the US as a person of color, right? So I think it's kind of that displacement, the segregation, the discrimination. And I think it's one of the common threads for a huge population, a huge of the US population, right? We all have this experience. And even though culturally, for example, the African American diaspora, there's parallel conversations being had, very similar experience that we're having. And the immigrant experience is the same because we were all displaced from our home in one way or another. So I think my work, even though I am telling my story and the story of my community, I think there's other communities that could relate to it very well.
The zine gives me an opportunity to open doors for a lot of conversations. And I think that's really important because nothing will change unless you're actively having those conversations. So right now, the zine that's out, we have a few different artists. A lot of them are parents. And so there was an artist doing a show about being a mother. So I wrote an article about what it's like to be a parent artist and that kind of thing. So it depends on what's going on.
My work is very interesting because of me creating mostly jewelry. I have this little tag phrase that is, if you want to talk, wear my work. If you don't want to talk, don't wear my work. And that's meaningful to me because my work does cause a conversation, and it might be a conversation for you to have about yourself, or you can use me as a platform of this person. Clarissa stepped out on faith and after 19 years and started doing her jewelry full time. She battles with an eating disorder. She battles with depression. And you never know how those conversations open up someone else, because when you put it on someone else, it's easier for you to talk in third person about it. It helps the dialogue. So my work really stimulates conversations of even how did she create that and what mind space was she in to create it.
So I partnered with Inner Urban Art House for Tangled Roots, and I received a grant to work with my magazine. And so I featured a couple of the artists, performing artists, and I did an interview with Inner Urban, with Wolf, for that issue of the magazine. Getting that funding is so helpful. We're coming up on just 1 year anniversary of the zine. It's all out of pocket. So that funding really gave the zine a push to keep going and to seeing how much further we can go, what else we can do.
I learn from each space because it helps me be more consistent with the work. It gives me the ability to, some cases, ask for more. In some cases, some spaces, like in this case, I created a whole new wall in this space to be able to exhibit, right? So luckily enough, it's through the relationship that I was able to do that. So I think that's the value of Inner Urban Art House, is that it does, from, with the heart in their sleeves, they're willing to work with you and ensure that whatever vision you had for your work in their space, that if able, if doable, that we could get there.
So being a recipient of the Mid-America Arts Alliance grant, it allowed me to really take some time and work on a larger body of work that I had never done before. And I had an idea that provided me the space, the time to create, and then even learn from other artists, tell them what I wanted, tell them what I wanted to learn to do, and they took that time to show me. So it stretched me. I think that each time you have an opportunity to do something different, it stretches you in a uncomfortable but yet comfortable way.